no changes to England's starting 11, which I think can only mean one thing. I don't think Southgate's been on the internet. I don't think he's read the comments. There's no way you'd start with the same 11 if you've been on the internet. You've seen what everyone has been saying. Oh, echo. Can you guys hear me properly? Hello, everyone, by the way. I hope the audio is okay. If not, okay, perfect. No, I just read the echo and I thought you guys couldn't hear me. Hello, everyone. Welcome to the stream. We're going to be analyzing Denmark versus England. Second game of the group. England got the result in the first match, but let's be honest, it wasn't the most convincing performance we've ever seen. And that's why I'm kind of surprised to see England start with the same starting 11. I think there was going to be some changes. I think a lot of us expected some changes, especially maybe on the left flank. And we'll get into the tactics now. And looking at Denmark as well, they haven't made any changes, or at least they've made one change compared to their last performance. But I think Denmark might be able to cause some issues to England today. And we're going to be looking at that. Let's jump straight into the tactics. Let's take a look at the starting formations from both teams. But anyway, thanks for joining, everyone. Thank you so much for coming in. Hello, everyone. Glad you all could make it. I'm curious to know your guys' predictions. I'm curious to hear what you guys think is going to happen in today's game. If it's going to be a good game. If England can get the result, if you're supporting England, or if Denmark can get the result, if you're supporting Denmark, which I'm assuming a lot of people probably are, because I get the impression a lot of people don't really want to see England win, which is totally understandable. Okay, so we have the two formations. England in a 4-2-3-1, Denmark in a 3-4-1-2. So both teams have kept to the same formation. England have not made any changes. So we've got the same back four with Guehi, Stones, Walker and Trippier, double pivot of Rice and Trent Alexander-Arnold, a midfield three of Bellingham, Foden, Saka, and then Kane up top. We'll take a look at why that didn't really work for a lot of the time in the match against who was it? Against Serbia. But then on the other hand, we've got Denmark in a 3-4-1-2. The same back three with Andersen, Christensen and Vestergaard. The only change in midfield is Maeli coming in for Bar on the right wing. Or the right wing-back position. The same pivots of Hjulmand and Højbjerg, and then Christensen on the left wing-back position, Eriksen in the middle, and then up top Wind and Højlund. It's a very good Denmark team. I missed the game against Slovenia in the first one, but I got a chance to rewatch the first half. I got a chance to look at a bit of their play style, and they're actually really good, and they've got some good connection. If anyone has played FIFA, you know they're having two Wolfsburg players next to each other. That's going to be excellent chemistry on the right flank. Then we've got the Premier League players down the middle here. We've got some really, really good names. Hjulmand, I love watching him this season for Sporting Portugal. Really, really impressive performances. Andersen for Palace played really, really well. Christensen for Bologna, key player for Bologna. I'm curious to see how he does as a wing back. I'm not entirely. I think he plays as a left back. Bologna's a 4-2-3-1, I think, or a 4-3-3. So I'm curious to see how he plays as a wing back. Yeah, so you guys are saying Denmark fell off a bit in the second half. But in the first half, from what I saw anyway, there was quite a lot of pressure put with their wing-backs. They were pushing up quite a lot, and they were able to stretch the pitch quite consistently. Obviously, we saw Eriksen getting the goal with like a throw-in coming through the middle. But they've got lots of different options they can exploit going forward. But now let's look at England and let's see why I think it was difficult for them against Serbia and why I think we might run into a similar issue in today's match if Southgate hasn't addressed some of the main concerns that I think a lot of people were pointing out from the match. So my personal opinion from the match against Serbia was that we had way too many players coming short to pick up the ball, and you kind of just ended up isolating the front three. So if you consider Trippier when we were attacking, or when England were attacking, we had Trippier, Kane and Saka were the front three. So Serbia played with a pretty strict back five in the first half. They weren't too adventurous going forward. So England were able to pin them back quite a lot, but you ended up with like three players up top, and then all the rest of the players were like back here. Everyone wanted to be on the ball. Foden wanted the ball, Bellingham wanted the ball, Alexander-Arnold wanted the ball. So you just ended up with like a massive split down the middle. And I think England really, really struggled to take advantage. And when you end up with so many players just behind the midfield or in front of the midfield line, you're just not causing any issues for the opposition. And I think, yes, England were dominant in the first half. They had a lot of possession. But if you actually look at it, did they really create that many chances? I don't think they did. Like, they had a few decent opportunities. Obviously, the goal was good. There was a few chances coming from crosses and cutbacks into the box, but nothing really too substantial. And I think because they had so many players that just wanted the ball. They're all players that want the ball to feet. Foden, Bellingham, even Kane, for example. Like you had Alexander-Arnold, Bellingham and Foden. They all wanted the ball in this position here. But Kane is also a player that always drops deep. We know what Kane wants to do. He always wants to come and pick up the ball in this position. So if you're not letting Kane do that, it's going to be really difficult for him to play to his strengths. And I think, yes, if I did an analysis of England's game, if you haven't seen it. But yeah, if you analyze Kane's play, I don't think he had the best game, but I don't think England played to his strengths. So I think if you don't let Kane drop deep, it's going to be difficult for him to really have an impact because he's not going to make these runs in behind. And I think what England need to do today to be really, really effective is they need more runners in behind. I don't want to see Foden coming to pick up the ball next to Guehi down here. I don't want to see Bellingham, or maybe Bellingham. You need one player that can drop deep and link play, but only one, not three. You didn't need all three of these players doing the exact same thing because then Trippier was maybe a bit late pushing up. And then I don't know how you guys felt about Trippier on the left wing. I think, yeah, it's just, I don't know. I think having a right-footed left back is just not the best. I think it's going to be difficult for England without Luke Shaw. Obviously, if Luke Shaw comes into the team, he's definitely going to be the starter on the left flank or the left back position. But I'm not sure. Yeah, I think Luke Shaw could add a little strength to this team. And I think this is definitely something Southgate didn't predict, that we wouldn't have any left backs because I think Chilwell was injured or didn't make it into the team. I'm not entirely sure. I think he was injured. But considering how many right backs England have, it's insane to think that there's barely any left backs that can really make the team dangerous going forward. So yeah, I'm curious to know your thoughts on Trippier and what changes would you guys have made to the starting 11 in today's match, considering the players we had at our disposal. I heard a lot of comments for Gordon coming in for Foden because Foden obviously didn't have the best game. So I'm curious to see if he changes his approach today and if England change anything in particular going against a Denmark team that can cause England some issues. So Trippier, Foden, Trent, Kane out, says Panos. I'm wondering who you'd replace all these players for. Now, I think there were a lot of comments from people saying that they should have started with Anthony Gordon on the left flank. And I think there's a very specific reason why they didn't start with Gordon on the left flank. And I think if you have Phil Foden, obviously the left flank isn't his ideal position, even at Man City. But if you have the Premier League player of the season and you don't start him in your opening game of the Euros, everyone's going to think you've lost your mind. Like, you kind of have to start Foden. Like, he is an incredible player. He obviously didn't have the best game, but he is an unbelievable player. So I understand why he started. I'm curious to see how he does today. I think he needs to change his approach a little bit. I think he needs to be a little bit more proactive. But yeah, I think he had to start the first game, obviously. Like, this is, on paper, I don't know how many changes you'd make to this starting 11 in your first match. Less tactics, more vibes. Yeah, we're definitely seeing a lot of that from some teams. I don't know if you guys saw the Turkey match against Georgia. That was actually, there were a lot of tactics from Turkey in that game. They did some really, really nice positional rotations, and Georgia just had an unbelievable counterattack. Really, really fun to watch. Really, really dynamic going forward, especially Kvaratskhelia. I watched a lot of him when he played for Napoli. Well, not much this season, but when Napoli won the season, I watched a lot of them that season, and it was unbelievable. He was just so dynamic, so quick. No one knew how to stop him. It's always fun when you watch a player that no one's really heard of just take a league by storm and just completely dominate from the first moment he enters the league. So it was a bit of a shame that this season at Napoli he kind of disappeared a little bit. Him and Osimhen weren't as clinical as you kind of expect them to be, but still he's an excellent player, and I think Georgia, they did really well. 3-1 was a weird result because Turkey played really well as well, but I think Georgia deserved like a few more goals in that game as well. So Southgate will cook today, says Marcel. I think England will win. I think I'm going for a 2-1. Denmark to score first, and that will kick England into gear, and we'll see some slightly more attacking football from England. Hopefully. I've been saying that for about, I don't know how long Southgate's been in charge now, but I think I've been saying that for about 20 years. I just want to see England attack. We have so many good attacking players. Why do we always defend? It's so annoying. Yeah, crosses. You guys are saying like England rely on crosses a bit too much, and I completely agree. I think the way we played against Serbia, the only way England were ever going to create a chance was from crosses, because you had no one making like runs into like these channels here. Kane's not going to make that run. Bellingham does make that run, but he needs other players to like disrupt the defense for that run to make sense. So like when he's at Real Madrid, obviously Vinicius Jr., Rodrigo, they're making like the runs deep that drag the defenders out of position, which means Bellingham can attack forward and create some disruption in the defensive line. But if no one's if everyone's dropping deep, like no one's really if everyone's trying to do the same thing, it's just not really going to work. So yeah, I want to see a bit more directness from England. I think they are still going to go through crosses. It's the same formation, so we're going to see the same type of play style. A lot of maybe combinations on the right flank. I think our right flank was good. I think that was probably England's strongest point against Serbia, was when they were able to get Walker a little bit further forward, and then Saka obviously was really, really good. And these combinations here were like Trent and Walker, Saka out wide here. They were dangerous. They were a little bit passive sometimes because maybe the ball was, we haven't got a ball on the pitch, have we? The ball would get played out to Saka, and then they'd be sometimes a bit slow to come and like help him out. And I feel like Serbia were able to like double up on him quite frequently. So it was difficult for Arnold and Walker to really add support. But once they did get into this position, then I think England were dangerous. Add Bellingham to the mix, add Foden maybe adding a bit more support between the lines. Trippier maybe has time to push up. I think these kind of clusters on one side of the pitch before you're looking for maybe like diagonals or switches onto the opposite flank when there's a little bit more space to exploit. I think that could be really fun to look at. And I'm curious to see if England change their approach in any way at all. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on which players you think should start. Should Palmer start? Asks Watermelon. Right, I'm a Chelsea fan, so I obviously love Palmer. I think he's an unbelievable player. But I think right now, Saka is the right choice on the right flank. Obviously, that's my opinion. But I think Palmer will have his chance at this Euros, and I do think he will impress a lot. Honestly, I just absolutely love watching him. He doesn't look like a player that's going to make a big difference. Obviously, we all saw the picture from the club picture, the national pictures. It's quite funny, a lot of memes from it. But that's beside the point. He's an unbelievable footballer, and I think he can have his impact at this Euros, and I think he will have his moment to shine. I think today we might see him come in today. It depends entirely on how the game is going, essentially, because if England can get control early, they can find themselves in the lead, then I think Southgate might be a bit more tempted to make some aggressive changes. Actually, what am I saying? We all know Southgate sits back. So no more positional play. England don't want to see, you guys don't want to see England play positional football. I get that because you kind of need the right players to make all the rotations make sense. But I think we are going to see a better attempt at some impressive rotations today. But yeah, I think England need to look out for Denmark as well, because so a lot of teams are playing in a back three, and Denmark are doing the same. And I'm going to make a video covering like some of the trends that we're seeing at this Euros, including like the back three, some clusters, like Turkey did some like really good like overloads on certain sides of the pitch. But the back three, England struggled a little bit in the second half with wing backs, with players that could really stretch the pitch. When you're pinning back Walker and Trippier a lot more, and Saka's not really having the space or like the support to push forward a lot, England looked a little bit weaker and a little bit exposed, especially in the half spaces. And I think Denmark's formation actually matches England's defensive weaknesses quite well, because if you've got a back five, obviously Rice is going to give you a lot of cover. So he's kind of going to be an extra centre-back in this position here. And then maybe you'll have like a 4-1-4-1. I think that's what they did against Serbia. I think they went 4-1-4-1. It might have been a 4-4-2 at times. But essentially it was like a little bit or something like this. And this five against Serbia, obviously different players, caused a lot of issues because you had a lot of balls maybe being played out wide, and as Trippier, for example, would step out, you'd have, it was Vlahovic or whoever was in this position, they'd like make these runs in behind. It was much more on the left flank between Walker and Stones, because maybe Trent would try and cover, but maybe he'd be a little bit exposed, a little bit late, and Serbia found some balls into this space here, especially through their wing back. I remember the number, it was number 25. I can't remember exactly his name, and I'm not going to try and pronounce the names. I've got way too many comments. I didn't know the Euros were going to be so difficult to pronounce, but obviously that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Yeah, so we're going to try and see if we can figure out Denmark's tactics before Southgate does. And we're going to see if we can work out how Denmark want to score, how England want to score, and we want to see who scores first. I want to know who you think is going to score first. So we've got score predictions. We've got England winning the game by 68% in the poll. Make sure you vote if you haven't already. But I also want to know who you think is going to score first. And I said at the start of this video that I think Denmark are going to score first. And I think that's going to come through Højlund, the Man United player. Really, really dynamic player. I think he hasn't had the best start to life at Man United. I think he struggled a little bit to life under Ten Hag, and I don't think that's always been his fault. Obviously, he's had a few big chances that maybe he scuffed a little bit in some occasions, but I think for at national level, at these levels, I think a player like this, strong, physical, quick, I think he could create a lot of danger, especially maybe like cutting in between the centre backs and like trying to get onto the end of headers. So yeah, Denmark to score first, you guys are saying as well. England will score first. So yeah, we're going to analyze the back three. And I want to see a bit more of how Denmark use it today. Because Serbia, in the second half, they went really, really wide. And it worked well against England. They were just playing around. But I think one of the reasons why a lot of teams are using the back three, and even teams, if you look at Germany, they don't start with a back three. They start with a 4-2-3-1. But it always turns into a back three because you have Kroos or Kroos or Kraus, I don't know how to pronounce the names, but anyway, the German unbelievable midfielder, he'll move into this position here, and then they have a back three. And I think that's mainly because the vast majority of teams, they defend in a 4-4-2 or with like two strikers. So even England, they maybe have Saka and Kane in this position. So if you have a back three, you have the chance of like moving the ball out wide, and you can outnumber the first press essentially. Because if you have three players in this position, it's going to be difficult for the two strikers to know what to do. And essentially you end up with the strikers, if it is a 3v2, they move and they just try and shadow mark the holding midfielders. So the teams that in possession with a back three, they have a lot of space to move into these channels here, forcing the midfield to then cover and move over, and potentially exploiting a lot of gaps in these positions that teams can exploit. So I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of teams are building with a back three, because a lot of teams are pressing with a front two. And even if teams press with a front one, maybe you have a little bit more density in midfield, so it might be a little bit more difficult to penetrate through the center. I think pressing with one is probably best against the three, because you're ensuring that they can't go through the middle too quickly. So anyway, the game is starting. I think my stream is on a delay again, so sorry about that. I've tried to fix the delay as much as possible, but unfortunately there's not much I can do about it. It's just how I'm watching the game. I think it just comes through a little bit later. So we are underway. And we're going to be seeing how quickly we can figure out how both teams want to approach this match. Okay, so Denmark in possession earlier, trying to go through the center. And a good chance straight through the middle there, trying to play on the wall of Ericsson, and a good chance through the middle. But now we get a good chance to see how England are going to build in possession. Looks like keeping the fullbacks out wide initially, and then yeah, we saw in the first game, who is it? Arnold, Trent was used quite a lot in this position here as like a double pivot. So I wouldn't be surprised, and it wasn't the most effective. So I wouldn't be surprised if he pushes a little bit further forward into this position here, slightly further up the pitch, and they just leave Rice as the holding midfielder because he's fully comfortable and fully good enough to do it himself. So Denmark on the front foot starting this match. But now England being able to exploit some space on the wing with Saka, and it's a throw-in. So yeah, it looks like quite a wide build-up structure from England in the first phases. Maybe just with Declan Rice in the centre, with Trent pushing a little bit further up the pitch. Yeah, so we can see him now already in the opposition's half. Kane a little bit more mobile. And looks like Foden's keeping a lot more width already. Yeah, so we're already seeing a little bit more of a rotation on the flank that we weren't seeing against Serbia. So Foden basically never was in this position in the first match. He was nearly always in this position here in the centre. So we're already seeing him hugging the touchline a little bit more, and Trippier actually moving into the flank here. But now England attacking down the right flank, and it's a cross from Walker, but it's intercepted. So yeah, you guys saying England need to control the tempo. So yeah, I think these overloads on the right flank, or not necessarily overloads, but the combination of Saka and Walker could be a really dangerous one for England, and something they should definitely try and exploit in today's game and through the Euros entirely, because you can get a lot of really good. Oh, what am I doing? You can get a lot of really good combinations in this position here. So England looking to control possession early on in the match, as is expected, really. So I think the vast majority of the match will be played in the opposition's half in this position here, with with Denmark condensing the pitch, sitting in a back five the vast majority of the time. So wing backs covering the wingers, giving a little bit more support in the center, meaning I think Kane might have another difficult game. Unless England are able to overload Anderson and Vestergaard in this position here, I think Christensen is just going to man mark Kane for the whole time. And even if Kane drops deep into midfield, it's not going to cause too many issues because they can do that. And then you just end up with a back four, essentially. And you can essentially just outnumber the England's attack. Curious to see how Denmark are pressing in this match. Again, it doesn't seem like they're pressing too high up the pitch, but we've seen a lot of back threes. They shift to a 5-3-2. And I think Denmark are going to go for a similar structure in possession. So Joseph, we would have switched Trent for Gordon, put Rice, Foden and Bellingham in midfield. Front three of Gordon, Kane and Saka, 4-3-3 in defense, 3-2-4-1 in attack. I think that could work well. I think the introduction of Gordon was one that a lot of people called for. A lot of people wanted to see that in this game. I get what Southgate is trying to do, trying to keep to the same formation, trying to get a little bit more consistency. Maybe there's time for Gordon to come into the second half, or maybe he's resting these types of players for the knockout rounds as well, if England make it. Obviously, at the end of the day, even though England didn't perform to the best standards in their previous match, I think there was still an incredible, they still got the 3 points. So that was what essentially matters. It doesn't matter how attractive the football is, as long as you can get the points and you can make it through to the knockout rounds, that's when it really matters. So it doesn't have to be the most attractive football in this stages. And I think we're seeing something similar with teams like Portugal and France. Portugal, obviously, attacking going forward, they had quite a few chances. It wasn't too bad. But France especially, they weren't the most exciting team to watch. There was a few weaknesses that I think other teams could have exploited. And if they carry on like that, it might be difficult. Obviously, we need to see if Mbappe's injury is too serious. I'm not sure if you guys know if Mbappe's going to play or if he's not playing for the next match. Okay, so Foden moving a little bit more centrally now when England are in a structured attack with Trippier in this position. But it does look like he's a little bit less keen on coming to pick up the ball in this position, which I think is important. I think it's something England need to do consistently. But yeah, England's left wing just looking a little bit harmless, says Tom. I kind of agree. I think the vast majority of their chances are going to come from the right flank. So down this space here, through Saka, through Walker. I think this area of the pitch here is a little bit weaker, and I think Bellingham will be attracted to move into this position more frequently because you can get a little bit more of like a dynamic play with these players here than you maybe can on this flank here, because obviously, like we saw in the match against Serbia as well, Trippier would always maybe reach this position here, and then because he's right-footed, obviously he's not going to try and deliver the cross into here. He didn't really feel too comfortable, so he'd get here and then he'd just turn around, and that just meant the defending team could set up, and it wasn't too dangerous for them to try and deal. And I don't think any real threats came from the left flank in England's previous match. So I'm curious to see if they're able to get anything more concrete coming down this flank in this game. Nice ball in for Saka there, but just intercepted a little bit too long, and Schmeichel's off his line to collect it. So Jaco Bellingham can defend the ball well with Rice, and he can play a number 8, and Foden number 10, and Gordon on the left flank. So we're saying no Trent. So you remove Trent, Bellingham in this position, Foden, and then... So essentially you have Gordon in place of Trent on the left flank. I think that could work a little bit. I think that could work. I think we've got too many midfielders, because Foden essentially moving into this position, I'd consider him more of like a dynamic, offensive-minded midfielder than you would a left winger. Because again, even for Man City, the left wing isn't his best position. He has played well in that area of the pitch. He does play there quite frequently for Man City. But again, when you're doing it for Man City, you have other players around you that are just going to rotate and a lot more dangerous going forward. Saka as a left winger as well. So I'm not sure. I don't think he's ever really done that for Arsenal. I think he's always been the right winger for Arsenal. But essentially, maybe you could try him on the left flank and then bring Cole Palmer on the right wing. Could be fun. Yeah, is there really no other left back to play instead of Trippier? I agree. I think it's a bit of an oversight on Southgate's part, not really considering this position too well. Obviously, if Shaw is fit, he's your starter. But if he's not fit, you don't have any changes. You don't have anyone else that can play in this position, and it's going to be difficult. It's going to be difficult in the later stages because Shaw has a record of being injury prone. He's missed a lot of games for England and club. So I wouldn't be surprised if maybe he comes back, but he's just not as fit as we're hoping he is, because we kind of need Shaw. We need a lot more danger on the left flank, because now we're a little bit too predictable with moves coming down into this space over here on the right flank. So if Walker's down, his ankle really went in the wrong direction there. No one's ankle should go that way. Okay, maybe not too bad. I don't know. Looking at the replay. So Samir, England play with a 3-4-3 with a box midfield like we see with City, and Arsenal play Saka and Sancho as wingers. So I think a 3-4-3, I think it would, a back three kind of makes sense for England. If you don't have a left back, why not play a left wing back who's a little bit more aggressive going forward and someone who can maybe attack a little bit more frequently? And I think England could get away with defending with a back three at times, especially maybe even with Walker in this position. And then you could maybe bring Trent in. I think Trent would be a really good wing back because he's obviously got really good crossing ability. Saka in the half space is okay. I think he's much better out wide coming inside. So yeah, they'd need to change. I think a back three could work for England, but not with this starting 11. I think you'd need to change a few positions, a few players, just to make it work more effectively. But I think a back three would suit Kane as well, because obviously you have a lot more width. You have a little bit less density in the center with less midfielders. So maybe Kane could have a little bit more space to drop deep. Am I good at FIFA, says Felix? No. Last FIFA I played was probably like FIFA 20, FIFA 21. I haven't played it in ages. I'd love to, but I just don't have time anymore. Even Football Manager. I used to love playing Football Manager, but it just takes up too much time. I can't afford to do it anymore. Most of my time now is just spent watching football, which I can't complain about. It's pretty amazing. So can you explain the issue? Tobido transfer to Man United? I don't actually know. I saw the headline, but I don't understand exactly what happened. I just saw the Man United owner, I can't remember his name now, complaining about it. But I'm not entirely sure what happened and why the transfer was blocked. So here, England on the right flank again. Yeah, like we were saying, few combinations with Bellingham moving over into this position. I want to see Walker push a little bit further forward. I think he's the key on the right flank, because you need Saka to be isolated in a 1v1. And if you're not getting Walker up, if Trent is in this position here, I think it's going to be difficult for Saka to dribble inside and be dangerous. So Bellingham needs to push a defender away. Walker needs to add a support. And I think Trent can be even more aggressive. We need to be more aggressive on this right flank. Cormac, hey, that's my name. Do you coach any teams, or do you hope to in the future? So I've worked as an analyst for about 5 seasons, but this was the first season that I decided to go all in on YouTube, because the channel was doing really well. Really enjoyed making these analysis for you guys. But yeah, I've worked for a number of different clubs in England and in Italy. But yeah, this was the first season where I was kind of working with clubs indirectly. So I have a second channel called The Coach Book. And I've got a few videos coming out on that soon, where I've worked with some like different clubs and like analysis of training sessions and matches. But yeah, I'd love to go back into coaching eventually. But I think right now my focus is this channel, because it's just so much fun. I absolutely love making these videos and talking to you guys on stream and just reading your comments. So Leon, Saka would thrive as the left wing just because of how dynamic he is, and Foden or Palmer could be moved to the right, where they would benefit from Walker's right-footed overlaps, complementing their play style. So I think if you're going to go Saka on the left, I think Palmer makes sense on the right, because obviously Palmer for Chelsea, he's super dangerous when he moves into these positions in the center, in the half space, and then attacking the box with like really nice crosses for the runners onto the second post, or even just dribbling. Or like, I can't remember, it was at Everton where he scored that goal from the edge of the box where he like nutmegged a player and then scored. It was really, really nice. I think, yeah, if you're going to play Saka on the left, I think Palmer makes sense on the right. But then here comes Foden. Ooh, okay, very nice. In a slightly more central position, coming from the right. So I think that could be a good exploit for England if they're able to get a lot of players into this position. Really nice move from Foden, trying to get it onto his left foot, but didn't make it in time. I think he could have maybe, if he tried to go with his right foot, obviously it's not going to be his best, because obviously he's left-footed, but from this position, I think his right foot would have been a little bit quicker to get a shot away. So should Kane fill deeper spaces and not drop down to build as much? I'm not entirely sure, because I think Kane is a player that you know what he wants to do. He wants to attack the space between the lines. He's not really a striker that's going to attack in behind too frequently. So I think you need to play to his strengths. Obviously, top scorer, I'm not sure if he was a top scorer, but he scored a lot for Bayern Munich. Premier League, obviously scored so many goals. And his play style is very consistent in the sense that he moves into these positions, he picks up the ball, really good at distributing it out wide, and then makes these late runs into the box where he can finish really, really effectively. So I think if you're going to play with Kane, he's getting on a bit now. He's quite old as well. So I wouldn't try and change his play style too much. I'd try and play into his play style. So I think if you play with Kane, you want to have him active in this position, which is why I think England could get away with playing with less midfielders. Maybe a 4-3-3 instead of a 4-2-3-1, because a 4-2-3-1 with Foden as well moving into this position, you end up with a lot of midfielders, a lot of crowded players in the center, which can be good. It can help you control games. And you can see England controlling games quite frequently in these opening two matches. They are essentially in control of the ball, but I don't think they're just able to create dangerous chances because you don't have enough players attacking the space in behind. The only one that's really consistently ready to go in behind is Saka. And if you only have one player doing that, well, then it's incredibly easy to stop it from happening. Play Brexit ball? Yeah, that could work. That could really work. I think we saw a little bit of that from Pickford in the opening game against Serbia. Just everyone was trying to play a little bit of Guardiola build up down here, and Pickford was just like, nah, let's just kick it long. And it didn't really work. So England building up again from the back. Does look like they want to go really, really wide and build up. This was a similar structure that Spain were using as well. So I watched the game, we're going to be doing an analysis on the channel tomorrow of Spain, Italy. Unfortunately, I can't watch it live tonight, but I'm going to be watching it as soon as I can, and then I'll do a tactical analysis of the match tomorrow. But the way Spain played was quite interesting because they had the fullbacks really, really out wide with Cucurella and, can't remember, I think it was Carvajal on the right flank. And then they had the box-to-box midfielders with, who was it? It was Pedri and another one. I can't remember who it was, but they drop into these positions deep, pick up the ball from here, and then switch it into Lamine Yamal on the right flank or Williams on the left flank. They had a lot of really dangerous diagonals across the pitch, and then really, really quick players that could attack in behind. Yeah, Fabian Ruiz, great goal as well. Guehi is really good. I'm glad to see him in the England team. I think he's a bit of a breath of fresh air in defence. I like the partnership of Guehi and Stones. I think that's really, really good. I think, yeah, in defence, our main weakness is arguably the left-back position. So, Leon, a post-Kane future should see Bellingham or Foden as a false nine or a double false nine, similar to De Zerbi's system. Oh, okay. Or Arteta's more recent system. What do you think? That sounds really fun. Would a double false nine work? Because in that case, you'd need, so let's say Bellingham and Foden in this position, no Kane. So maybe you have, let's bring on number 26, just a random player. I think you could end up, you'd need quick wingers. You'd need a lot of wingers. Oh, England, here we go. There it is, Harry Kane. I kind of missed that. I was explaining the thing. But a cross coming from the right flank. So as kind of expected, the vast majority of danger coming from the right flank. Looked like a bit of a goal scramble there. I kind of missed it. I just caught the end of it, actually. But nice. Similar timings to the game against Serbia as well. So just waiting for the replay to see exactly what happened there. Which player created the move for England going forward. Okay, so Walker. Oh, wow. That was quick from Walker. Oh, my God. Really, really quick. Excellent proactive play from Walker, picking up the ball. And then, yeah, cut back. Slight deflection from Saka, and then into the path of Kane in this position here, who finished essentially with an open net. But that was all made by Kyle Walker. That was extreme determination on the flank. Really, really fun to watch. Really, really nice to see. And yeah, gets England ahead. Wasn't the most attractive goal in the sense of a few deflections. Just found its way to Kane. But I think that's just what Kane does. He's a poacher. He's a finisher. He's always ready in the box. Great. Okay, so that means we've got 70 minutes of defensive English football. Here we go. There it is straight away. Looking at straight into a 4-4-2, and I'll see you guys in 70 minutes. I really hope England... I just want to see England score 2. If they score 2, I think I'm happy. It's weird how instantly the things change as soon as England score. Like, I know they've just scored, but already it looks like Denmark have a little bit more control. They're trying to push forward. And England have already... I don't know if it's like a... I don't know if it is Southgate who insists that we have the lead, very like Mourinho-esque from back in the day. You get the 1-0 and then you just don't concede. You just sit back and maybe counterattack. But it does seem that as soon as England concede, that is essentially, they just park the bus. They just change mentality completely and they panic a little bit. It's like, okay, we'll maybe not push forward. And this was exactly what happened with Serbia. As soon as England score, you just start seeing long balls in behind. So I'm curious to see if Denmark can get a little bit more control now, and I want to see how they use their wing-backs. I want to see this combination, this Wolfsburg combination on the right flank. So here we go. I think, yeah, back five might be difficult for England to deal with. We saw that here in this case here, Trippier being quite isolated. So if they have someone who can dribble past Trippier, I think, or if it's Walker on the right flank, I think there could be some danger from balls into this position from out wide. Really nice from Declan Rice. Bit of a deflection. Looks like England's just trying to deal with it. But yeah, as soon as England score, straight on the defensive foot. Okay, offside. A little bit of breathing room for England. Giving them a chance maybe to reset again and be like, okay, look, we are in control. We don't need to sit back for the rest of the match. We can actually win this game quite comfortably if they play to their strengths. And England obviously do have a lot of strengths. They obviously have a lot of incredible players. They just need to gel a little bit more and get a little bit more understanding between the players. I think the rivalry between the players, obviously, it doesn't help. We know historically England have always struggled with the rivalry between Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Arsenal. All these players hating each other during the league and then trying to play together for England. It's never really worked. But I think this team can gel a little bit more. I feel like that rivalry has not necessarily died down, but is maybe not as felt as it was 15, 20 years ago when it was Lampard, Gerrard and Scholes, who just absolutely could not play together. Defensively speaking as well, John Terry and Ferdinand just never really worked. So Denmark immediately looking to put a lot more pressure. Keeping the wing-backs nice and wide, making sure that Walker, Trippier, Guehi and Stones can't do anything except just clear the ball. So England playing with one player above the line of the ball, and that's Harry Kane. Against Serbia, it did look like they used two players above the line of the ball, mostly Kane and Saka. But maybe in this situation here, Saka dropping a little bit more deep, which again, I don't really think they need all these players dropping deep to add support. But if that's what they want to do, it looks like a 4-1-4-1. Rice maybe giving a little bit more cover in this position. Trying to stop, so you've seen a lot of England players trying to stop the overloads from Denmark on the flank. Eriksen just snaking his way through. Doesn't quite work. But again, England just really struggling and chances on the edge of the box. Lots of players in the England box. Lots of defenders. Instantly the mood has changed. As soon as England score, that's it. And I think teams know this as well. It's almost like they use it as a little bit of a catalyst to be like, okay, England have scored, now we can play. It might not always work. Yeah, Yako, we need Denmark to score to save this game. I kind of agree, because otherwise it's just going to be another... it's just going to be like this for the whole match now, isn't it? England just trying to pick up the ball, play it long into Kane. But obviously Kane is trying to hover in these positions quite deep. It does look like Kane is the only player above the line of the ball. Maybe Bellingham a little bit more aggressive. Leon, yes, I will explain. I'll just take a look at how Denmark attacked for a little bit, and then we'll go back to the double false nine, because I think that was quite interesting. I think you might be onto something. But I'm curious to know, you mentioned De Zerbi. I wonder if you know how he's going to get on at Marseille, if you think he's going to use a similar system, or if he's going to change, because, header from Denmark into the box. So yeah, cross is coming from a deep position. Didn't quite work. So let's see Pickford with the ball. Because against Serbia, England would try and play out from the back. They'd have a lot of players coming in support, and then Pickford would just kick it long, and it was just kind of a waste. But it doesn't look like Denmark's press is too aggressive. It looks like they're going 2v1 against the centre-backs, and then a little bit of pressure on Declan Rice, but not even too much. It looks like they're quite comfortable just falling back into their defensive shape. And here we go. Nice ball in behind for Bellingham. Doesn't quite get there, but really nice to see these runs through the middle. And I think that's what you get with Kane dropping deep a little bit more. Yeah, Colby, this dropping off after scoring has to be coached. I think it is, but there must be a psychological reason as well. Like the opposition, obviously they've just conceded. They're going to want to start attacking, and I think there's a chance that it's a mix of both. Like England allow them to have a little bit more of the ball to protect the result, and then Denmark are also on the front foot, being like, no, let's actually get a goal here. Let's push forward. And as it stands, I think Denmark could cause a little bit more issues for England. It does look like England are struggling to find control of the match again. We go Denmark through the middle again. And then, yeah, England just trying to counterattack through Saka in this situation here. This is what Georgia did really well. When they had the ball on this flank on the right, for example, they had a lot of players pushing up immediately on the opposite flank. And they had some really nice diagonals to exploit space away from Turkey's press. And I think England could do that. Could do with something like that in this match. They have maybe Saka picking up the ball, but screw it. Why doesn't Trippier just go for it and then just try and play it through the middle, one pass into the center? Rice can play like a nice ball. Rice has the passing range to pick out a player running in behind. So just lay it off into Rice or whoever, Trent even. Trent would maybe be arguably much better to play a nice counter-attacking switch into the space on the opposite flank. Emre, you think this is extremely stupid? Welcome. Yeah, this is England. This is what they do. Yeah, before England, it is crazy. I generally don't understand it. I don't know why. It just changes instantly. Nice ball onto the back post from the cross, but doesn't quite make its way through. Set pieces have been... Obviously, set pieces at at tournament football are usually really, really important. I remember a stat, I think it was the 2018 World Cup, where like 42% or like 35, something like a very high percentage of numbers, I can't remember exactly what it was, of goals were scored from set pieces, and it was the highest ever. And it looked like that was going to be a trend that continued into the next Euros and World Cup, but it kind of died down. They weren't too present at the last World Cup. And in this Euros as well, I think we've seen a couple goals, but again, they don't seem to be something that teams are relying way too heavily on. And there's a few things that I've seen that are quite interesting. And I don't know if it's just a consequence of a lot of teams defending quite deep. So again, like we mentioned, we've seen a lot of teams playing with a back three, which I think means there's a little bit more space in midfield. And again, I'm not sure if it's a coincidence, but it does look like a lot of teams are trying to shoot from outside the box. Obviously, we saw the two incredible goals from Turkey. I think Romania scored from outside the box as well. There's been some really, really nice goals from quite far out. Barella or Chiesa for Italy scored a lovely goal. I think there might be something there as well. I think with teams wanting to protect the goal a little bit more, maybe not too concerned about XG anymore, there might be a little bit more space to exploit outside the box. And that would be fun because we all love a 30-yard, 40-yard screamer. Denmark looking really dangerous. Not really creating any clear-cut chances, but just being on the front foot. England struggling, a little bit scrappy at the back. Just a lot of little deflections and things that can cause a little bit of confusion at the back. So it does look like England are slightly more aggressive in possession compared to their match against Serbia. So Foden is on the defensive line a little bit more frequently. Maybe Kane and Bellingham are switching positions a bit more fluidly. But again, you get a lot of players coming in to pick up the ball. Nice little build-up play here from Foden dropping deep, finding Pickford. But again, just a lot of pressure, not finding the way through. And I think these switches at the back are really dangerous. You usually don't want to switch the ball that deep in your pitch. When you have the ball down here, obviously, switches in play can be good, and it obviously depends on the opposition press as well. But if, for example, in this situation here, Trippier passed it to Guehi, Guehi has pressure, so he's not going to be able to play a perfect ball. And then a switch in play from this position over here is so dangerous. So many things can go wrong. So many interceptions could happen, and you see a lot of it. A lot of mistakes, especially like semi-pro level. Players think that this is a really dangerous pass because if it works, you have a lot of space to push up. But if it doesn't work, for example, Guehi misplaces it, Højlund intercepts it if he's in this position, you're instantly on the back foot. And it's something I noticed when I was working at like semi-professional level, at youth level, they want to play these like really dangerous, like nice passes that if they work, you create a lot of danger, but they're difficult to pull off. And I think that's what the pros do best. They do the simple things effectively. They're not trying to play these super dangerous passes a lot. And I think that's what separates a semi-professional from a professional. It's the ability to do the easy things 99% of the time. And then that 1% is the creativity and the ability to find the dangerous pass in the right moment. But I think what weaker players do is they try and maybe do the easy things 60% of the time, and then the rest of the 40 is them trying to be clever with their play. Obviously, a really, really difficult concept. I mean, I was terrible at football. 11-a-side, I was pretty bad. 5-a-side, I play 5-a-side all the time. I absolutely love it. I play futsal all the time. So Denmark, again, pushing forward on the right flank. So it's kind of opposite. It looks like both teams are attacking on the right flank. We have, they're through. Good defending from Denmark, and it's just chipped over the goal, and it looks like it's going to be a corner for Denmark. But again, England really, really struggling. What is up with the pitch? Every time someone slides in, it looks like half the turf is being pulled up. It doesn't look like the grass is too good. It looks quite slippery, maybe a bit too wet. I think it's been raining quite a lot in Germany. Not entirely sure where this game is being played, but I think in general, Germany's not the driest country, so if it's been raining, it's going to be, quite difficult. Yeah, Tom, goals are coming more and more from the wings. It seems it's just getting so hard when the team is getting so compact. Yeah, so I think we saw that in club football this season as well. A lot of some teams were trying to, that was a nice little corner routine. Shame it didn't pay, well, not really a shame, but good thing it didn't work. Obviously, I forgot who I'm supporting here. So there's It's obviously really hard to go through the middle. I think one team I saw that did it quite well was Sporting Portugal. They had some really nice like overloads in the center of the pitch. But if you look at like, Leverkusen with Xabi Alonso, they create a lot of these like clusters of players, these overloads, but they're mostly coming out wide. At most, maybe the half space, you're trying to free up a player in this position maybe. But yeah, attacking down the center is really, really difficult. Ooh, good chance from the corner there. Header just over the bar. But again, England, I can't believe it. Every time. Aaron might as well play Brexit football. I agree. I mean, it kind of is. It kind of is 4-4-2, just kick it long. Yeah, so which comment was it? Talking about the overloads. Yeah, coming down the center from Tom. Yeah, I think it's difficult, especially, I don't think we'll see much of it at the Euros, especially because teams are playing with a back five. They're playing with a back three. They've got a lot of central cover. So I think you get a lot of space maybe on the edge of the box, but going through the middle, it's quite difficult. So we're seeing it in this game. Denmark attacking a lot down the right flank. England attacking a lot down the right flank. Which I think you've kind of noticed the weaknesses from both teams. I'm not entirely sure Maele how good of a player he is. Haven't seen too much. But I think he played in the Serie A last season. Can't remember what team, but I recognize the name. And then Christensen for Bologna, really good player, but I don't think he's a wing back. I think he's more of a fullback. So maybe there's a little bit more space for England to exploit. But I think England are attacking more down the right. Here we go, shot from outside the box. Oh, what a finish. Oh my God. So what we were saying, lots of long range efforts, but that was unbelievable. Oh my God. Okay, game on. England can attack again. Thank you. Thank you, Denmark. I mean that from a tactical point of view. Obviously, I'm quite annoyed that Denmark have scored, but for the sake of the stream, I think that's good news. That was unbelievable. Okay, so is that a second tactical trend of the Euros? Long range efforts, they're coming back. They're making a comeback. Lots of space, kind of slow to close them down. What a finish. Oh, wow. That was perfect. So yeah, England, I think that's a weakness as well. If you're sitting too far back and you're just a bit too passive pushing up. Højlund, fantastic player. I enjoyed when I did an analysis for Sporting Portugal. He was key in their system. Like unbelievable. A lot more defensive than I think he's playing for Denmark. I think they're using Højbjerg as maybe the pivot. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't seen too much of Denmark's build up too much for now. But I think yeah, Højbjerg has maybe more of the pivot in the center, and Hjulmand being used a little bit more aggressively. And yeah, for Sporting, he was incredibly effective. Who do I think is the best coach for this England team? Asks Erman. I'm not entirely sure. I like Potter. I don't know if he'd get. I don't know if he's first in line. I don't know who is in line for the next England job. Obviously, if England don't win it, I think it's about time they move on from Southgate. Good or bad, obviously, we did make it to the final. We've had some decent runs, but I think England, they know the players they have, and they know that they can win if you're well oiled, if you're well drilled, and you know what you need to do. I think a team like England could win. A lot of people say Mourinho. I have read that before. Ivo say Mourinho in this case. I don't know. Again, Mourinho. Okay, respect. A lot of respect for Mourinho, but I don't enjoy his football anymore. I'm sorry. I have to say it. I watched a few Roma games this season. I think it's just a bit too passive. Obviously, it's effective at times. He does get the results, but I think his just brand of football is just not for me anymore. I hope he does well at Fenerbahce. He's obviously a personality. I love watching him. I love him as a manager. He's great for the game overall, but I think tactically speaking, I don't want to say outdated, but I just think teams have kind of figured it out. And I think playing for Mourinho is difficult, and I don't know if he's the right man to get the most out of this team. Yeah, Tess saying, if Southgate is too defensive, how is Mourinho better? I think it's they're very similar. They're very similar in the sense that they get the result, they get the win, and then they sit back. So again, Denmark pushing up on the right flank again. trying to control possession. It looks like they're keeping a bit of a double pivot in the center. So England just not putting any pressure at all. Denmark have completely taken over in this match. Quite slow to put pressure on as well. And it's leaving a lot of space in behind. So we saw that there. Yeah, Foden pushing out to put pressure. And then we've got another chance from outside the box. But this time it is deflected and in another corner. So we're seeing, in this case, we saw why the back three can be dangerous. And it's exactly this situation. When you're sitting back, you have players in this position, not really ready. As the ball comes out to a player, for example, Anderson was in this position, Foden has such a long way to travel to get there that by the time he gets there, Kane is trying to backtrack and cover this, that you have the space to pick up. And Højlund, again, picking up the ball in a really dangerous position over here. I think Bellingham was maybe shifted over to the right in this situation. And it looks like Denmark are going to be able to exploit space on the edge of the box. And again, corners, they're looking quite dangerous from this situation. Another header just going over the edge, just going over the crossbar. So I'm curious to know what you guys think England need to change. I think we need more control of the game. So I think we need, I don't want to say double pivot. I think we need one pivot. I think we can get away because if we're looking even now at the build-up, Denmark's press isn't too aggressive. They're moving over to the flank where England have the ball very well, but then England are just kicking it long and they're just getting rid of it. They're not really trying to hold on. But if you look closely, as the ball moves over to the right flank, Rice usually ends up with a little bit of space because Eriksen, I think, is marking him. He steps off to try and close off like a more direct pass, maybe into Kane or Saka. So if they go this way and then come back, maybe use Pickford more. I think England need to use Pickford more if they're building. Obviously, Pickford's not the best building up from the back. Maybe a change in goalkeeper as well. Someone like Ramsdale could be a little bit more effective in goal if England want to build out more consistently. Obviously, Ramsdale lost his place to Raya for Arsenal, but I think that is quite harsh at times. I think personally, I think he's better at build-up than Pickford. I think Pickford's maybe a better shot stopper, but I think Ramsdale can be a little bit better helping England build out from the back. So it kind of needs to depend on what England want to do, what their approach is going to be. But it does look like if you have a lot of midfielders, you have a lot of players that are good during build-up, like Stones. We've seen it for Man City. Declan Rice is obviously pretty press resistant. Got a lot of players that can be good from build-up. So maybe play a goalkeeper that's more build-up oriented. So Alvaro, I think they just need to set the block up a little bit further up. Yeah, that's a good point as well. Maybe a slightly more aggressive defensive line. Doesn't look like Højlund and Wind are attacking this space in behind too much. Doesn't look like these spaces are the danger. It does look like the vast majority of the danger is out wide from these positions. Here we go, another chance from outside the box for England. But again, Foden just dragging a little bit short, not too strong, and pretty easy save. But again, England just counter-attacking now. Trying to put press, but even their press is not very effective. We see it now. They're just being outnumbered in the press. Guehi, good interception on the long ball. And then England. Okay, I want to see this build up from the back. I want to see where the mistakes are. Because again, England have a lot of support in these situations. They have a lot of players helping out during build-up. I think, again, Foden, there's no need for Foden to come this deep to pick up the ball. You already have Bellingham doing that. So why is Foden here right now? I don't think it's needed. I don't know. I think you could get away with a player not doing that. But here's where I think England can be dangerous, is with Kyle Walker pushing up. Foden, again, trying to link the play. But see, kind of what I meant, like England have so many players in this position and Denmark are just set up. Look at Denmark's defensive line and you'll notice it's Kane against 4 people and then Trippier out wide, but they don't really want to play it into Trippier because they know the ball's just going to come back to them. And then Saka on the right flank. So here goes Trippier, okay. And then shut up out wide, yeah. Yeah, I think England... Yeah, I'm sorry, my delay, I don't know how to fix the delay. I think the stream is okay. I think it is actually just the channel I'm watching the match on is... the Italian TV is a bit too slow. I'm really sorry about that. I'm on 42 minutes and 5 seconds now. I don't know if that means anything to you guys. Another striker up top could work. I think we need to just create more disruption on the defensive line. If you have Kane here, Foden's too dynamic, like too all over the place. Like not even in a bad way. Like he's active, he's helping the team, but you need another player. If Foden's doing all these movements over here, then you're kind of sacrificing Bellingham because you need him to push up, or you need Trippier to be a little bit more confident. I think maybe Trent, nothing against Trent, but I just don't think he's needed in this system. I think we can get away with putting another winger. So maybe Trippier is more of a left back in this case because he kind of has to play, but maybe put Gordon on, Foden as a midfielder, and add a winger. We need more attackers. We need less midfield, more attack. I think, yeah, the main reason, who said it? MJ? Yeah, the wingers are utilized well, Saka and Foden, but Foden isn't really being a winger. It was the kind of ball in behind here for Denmark to knock it down. We've got space on the edge of the box, another chance coming from far back, but good stop from Pickford, able to stop it. This time from Højbjerg. So it looks like both pivots for Denmark being able to add a lot of attacks down the center. And I think England's defense, not sure if it's the defensive line that's a little bit too deep or if it's the midfield line that's just getting stretched a little bit too much. So if you look at Foden, he is our winger, but he's not our winger. Look right now, he's the box-to-box midfielder. And Trippier is our winger. Which then, again, when you lose the ball, because England can't build anymore, I don't know what's happened. Well, I don't know if they could ever build, but they can't build right now. You've got no support on this flank. If you lose the ball, I think Denmark could be dangerous by attacking in this position here. But I'm just going to set the pegs up a little bit because they're a little bit all over the place and I've lost track of who is who. I think Denmark are using their wing-backs really well. They're good at going forward, and then they're good at tracking back and making sure that England can't outnumber them on the flanks. So again, on the right, England can be dangerous with the combination of Walker, Trent, Saka. But on the left, again, you've got so many players on this position with Bellingham coming over as well. Foden wants the ball. And then look, Trippier's just completely isolated, but it doesn't even look like they want to move the ball to him. If you have everyone over here, even the wing back, Kane in this position, Saka out wide, Walker, Trent, Bellingham, Foden's over here, Trippier's up here. You've got these back three trying to cover. It's good that you can create a cluster and you can control possession on this side, but then it's difficult. Okay, we see the cross now move over to Trippier on the left flank. Again, ball comes back. Declan Rice on the edge of the box. Can we see if England can create something just before the end of the half? But again, ball going out to Saka. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to put it down in time. And again, just a little bit too slow. Foden, nice shot from the edge of the box, but I think that's the end of the half. So, England won, Denmark won. Amazing goal from Denmark. Good start from England again. Very similar structure from what happened against Serbia. England in control from the start, but then as soon as they score, it just completely flips. And Denmark were able to take control of the match. So I'm going to be doing a little bit of a recap of the tactics that we've talked about in the first half. Just going to let a few people join at halftime because they're usually a nice little stream of people come in to see an update on how both teams are progressing. If you haven't so far, please leave a like on the stream and subscribe to the channel if you haven't. And I've also started memberships on the channel as well. You can get some emojis. In this case, I've put the Denmark and England pegs that I'm using in this match. You can use them as emojis in the chat if you want to join the channel and really help help me improve the content of this channel and make this as good a stream as possible, but obviously no pressure. And yeah, I just hope you guys are enjoying the stream and that these tactics are clear. And I think we've worked it out. England are boring when they go ahead. That's all there is to say. So let's get the pegs set up and let's see how England approach this game. We'll see how Denmark approach the game as well. But I'm curious to know your thoughts. If you change any players in the second half, thank you. My timer is still running. I would like to see a extra winger. So we're going to see why that is the case in this situation. Okay, so essentially England started the game in a very similar way to they did against Serbia. So pretty passive, not passive build-up, but quite a deep build-up with Trippier in this position here. Denmark didn't really press too high at the start of the match. They had a lot of players sitting back, wanting to cover this back five, very similar to what Serbia did. So in these positions, England weren't too aggressive, but we had Saka out wide. Again, we saw Foden moving into these positions when they got a little bit more control of the pitch. And then it was Trippier giving the majority of the width on the left flank. And again, for the first 15 minutes, England were in control. But the vast majority of this control, very similar to what we saw against against Serbia, was that it's pretty passive control. It's not really a control that's going to get you anywhere because the ball is here. You maybe play it into Rice, but then you have Trent, you have Bellingham, you have Foden. You have all these players that want the ball to feet. They want to control the ball. They want to be they want to be in possession. They want to be the player that makes the difference. They want to keep rotating in this position. That it doesn't really mean much for Denmark's midfield because they can just sit back, maybe 5-3-2 or in this case, I think it was more of a 5-3-2 defensive structure that they used. They had the ball in this position, but again, you just end up with so many England players here that it's difficult for them to create too much danger because again, what is this causing Denmark's defense? It's not causing them any issues. So England did get the goal. Again, really nice play on the right flank, mostly from Kyle Walker. That was incredibly impressive from Walker to pick up the ball and then play it into the box for Kane. A classic poacher finish from the striker to be able to put England 1-0 up. And then as soon as England scored, there you know it changes and it goes defensive. And as soon as Denmark kicked off, England reverted to a back four, parked the bus and just tried to hold on for 70 minutes and it just absolutely didn't work. So we saw these players moving into a much deeper position. Difference against Serbia is that they had maybe Kane and Saka above the line of the ball. But in this match, it looked like they went just with Kane staying really high up the pitch. And obviously, Denmark were able to take control of this. We saw a lot of their chances coming down the right flank, mostly through Maele and Wind and Højmund adding some good support in this position. Eriksen being really dynamic between the lines. And the back three caused a lot of issues for England, as I kind of expected it would, because Serbia did cause a lot of issues to England in the second half when they switched to a more aggressive wing-back system, because in the first half it was more of a back five, and then the second half they switched to a back three. So again, Denmark taking a very similar playbook from what we saw in England's first match. And again, it made it really difficult. We saw some good opportunities coming because as a back three, if you press with a front two that they did with maybe Kane and Saka, it was difficult to find which players you need to close down effectively. So maybe Kane and Saka, they just shadow mark the two pivots, but that's not really much of an issue because as we saw, Denmark could essentially just move it out wide. Trippier was quite slow to maybe move out wide at times, but they did defend pretty well from these situations. But it was when maybe Foden tried to level out this shape here that we found a lot of dangerous passes through the middle. And Foden was quite slow to close this player down. And I don't think that's necessarily his fault. I think that's also down to Southgate's tactics of wanting a clear midfield four or a clear 4-1-4-1 or whatever it is, 4-4-2, whatever structure they fall into. I think there's a few different structures that they fall into. But in this case, I think it was a 4-1-4-1. But I think Southgate's drilling them to be like, this is the formation we need to adopt when we're defending. So if the ball goes out here and he said, okay, Foden, this is your man. Foden's having to make this run, but he's also just had to come back. And he's also had to just press here. So it's getting stretched apart. And then they're able to play these balls into the box here, into the middle. Then another trend that we're noticing from these Euros is so many goals from outside the box, so many opportunities from outside the box. We're seeing a lot of amazing goals. Turkey versus Georgia, there were some amazing goals from long range. Arda Güler with an incredible goal. The right back, can't remember his name now, but incredible goal as well. Romania, and then Denmark with an incredible finish from Højmund. Again, from far out, lovely finish. Able to find space And again, I think it was because England's defense was just a little bit too static, a little bit too dependent on covering the space back here, that as the ball was played back into the center, they're just a bit too slow to close them down. I think it came from a pass across into this position, and then Højlund from here, an incredible finish, obviously. And Denmark deserved to be 1-1. I think they started the game very similar to Serbia, England on the front foot, but then as soon as England scored, they were much more proactive at pushing forward and creating the chances that they did. So I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts, if you'd make any changes. My biggest change I'd make, and it's not necessarily because Trent has had a particularly bad game, but I just think we don't need another midfielder. I think we should move to Bellingham and Foden as the box-to-box midfielders. Give Kane a little bit more space to drop deep, because again, Kane's not having the best tournament so far. I know he scored, but it was a pretty easy finish for a player like Kane. But I think England are just not playing to his strengths. I think England need to play to Kane's strengths if you want to get the best out of Kane. Seems pretty simple to say something like that. But if you let Kane drop into this position, he's going to be a lot more effective. So I think we need to remove a midfielder. In this case, I'm picking Trent, and bring on a winger. So a lot of people in the previous match against Serbia, they were calling for Gordon on the left wing. I think that's a good shout. I think Gordon could work in the second half. I don't know exactly what number he is, but I've got some players lined up here. I'm just going to choose number 26. I think that's Mainu, actually. Can't remember what number Gordon is, but we'll have him. Let's just do this. Gordon here. And I think this works a little bit better. A 4-3-3. You've got Trippier not having to give you width on the left, because we've seen that that's useless. That's not going to work. So we need an actual winger on the flank. That means you can pin back their wing backs and you've got a little bit more defensive cover. And then you've got Bellingham and Foden that are not stepping on each other's toes, because Bellingham is the attacking midfielder. He's doing a lot of these movements, but Foden also wants to do a lot of these movements. And I think Bellingham is better at doing that in this situation than Foden. And I think Foden is trying too hard. I generally get that impression that he didn't have the best game and he's just trying too hard to get on the ball and be active in the move. And it's just, I don't know, I just don't really feel like it's working for him in this position. So I think a 4-3-3 like this with Kane, Saka, the back four is okay. And then just not relying on Trippier to give you width on the flank could be a good solution. In my eyes, anyway. So something like this. And then you obviously have Foden giving support on the left flank, which is something that he does do for Man City. You've got Bellingham giving support to Saka in this position. And that doesn't mean that Foden can't also come over to help out if there is the opportunity to create overloads. But I think you can add Walker to the mix here. Stones obviously is comfortable playing in these positions. Guehi, you can get some good defensive cover. And I think this could create a lot more danger, because you end up essentially with a front five, which is something that England have been missing. Something that a lot of teams at this Euros have been doing. Is a front five. We saw Georgia go to a 3-1-6 in their game against Turkey to try and fight back. But the five is a bit essential, because if you're playing against the back five, how are you going to attack with essentially, what was it, a 3? Because Foden and Bellingham aren't really playing on these positions. They're playing quite deep. So you're not really creating much of an issue for Denmark's defense. So Saka and Gordon holding the width a little bit more, giving more space to Foden and Bellingham in these channels here. And I think these channels for England can be dangerous, but we just need to find a way to exploit them a little bit better, a little bit more consistently. Because right now, the only space England are able to exploit is this space out wide here on the left flank, essentially. Sorry, the right flank. And that is because Saka is our only winger. Trippier is not a winger, but Trippier is being used in this position. So I'm curious to know your guys' thoughts. What changes would you make in the second half? If there's any players in particular that you'd bring on, or stick to the same 11, but maybe change the formation. So Tom, 4-2-2, Ollie Watkins and Kane with Bellingham and Rice as a double pivot. Play Bellingham like his Dortmund days. Okay, so Bellingham a little bit deeper. I like it. That could work. And I think Watkins and Kane, I think that could be another nice solution. A two-striker system up top. So let's use Gordon if we say Watkins comes on instead. That's how you spell it. There you go. Ollie in this position with Kane. So you still keep Foden out wide. 4-2-2-2. Yeah, okay, that could work. Is that something I think was it Emery used the 4-2-2-2 this season quite well. So it would make sense if you've got Watkins, and that could work against their midfield because they've got a midfield three, essentially, if you consider Eriksen a little bit more active in this position. So it could allow them to create a little bit more of a box, maybe go round the midfield a bit more frequently. I think maybe in that situation, you still need a bit more width. I think England need more width, less central density, a bit more width. So I don't know. I like the idea. I don't know if that's what they'd do. So yeah, a lot of people saying Watkins on the left flank. I think that could work. I think that's a good shout. So monochromatic spider, two options. One, pull back and hit properly on the counter. Two, the wing backs are defensively very squishy. Overload them. Pull centre backs out. Get behind. Yeah. So the wing backs are not phenomenal. We've seen them going forward. They're good going forward. But I think defensively England can exploit them. I think going counter-attack is not the way for England. It can work. Obviously, it can work. But I don't want to see England go counter-attacking. I don't know. It's just it's not really in. We want to see England dominate the games. We want to see England win 5-0 every time. But obviously, that's not always going to be the case, and it's definitely not the case in this Euros. So yeah, a lot of comments saying it's not coming home. So how about Kane drops deeper and Watkins up top, says Botch. I agree. I think we need to play to Kane's strengths. We need Kane in this deeper position. If you're going to play with Kane, you need to let him come play in midfield where he wants to play. Because again, he's not going to attack him behind. So if you have Kane moving deep, maybe Christensen follows him. That's going to leave space for him to like flick it on to Watkins or maybe flick it out wide to Saka, who can then play Watkins in behind. Watkins is quick. He can beat these defenders. Vestergaard, I mean, plays for Leicester. Obviously, they got promoted, but Watkins can beat a championship defender, can't he? Surely. Anderson plays for, can't remember now. Who is it? Oh, Crystal Palace. Yeah, okay, so that's a decent matchup. Kane is a cam. I mean, he's a false nine, essentially. So a lot of times, maybe he does look like a cam. So Mats didn't watch the first half. What's Kane's heat map? I'd say it's pretty much this. I don't think he's been watching. You know, I'm joking. But he's been kind of active here, not really involved in build-up. Obviously, he scored the goal, which is what you want from a striker. I'd love to see Palmer come on, but I think he's got a lot of competition with Saka. But I absolutely love Palmer. I think he can be dangerous in this team. He obviously likes to cut inside a lot more frequently. So I think Saka's maybe a little bit more comfortable pushing forward and like playing out wide. But I think Palmer's maybe a little bit better in the half space. So that could be good because you could get Walker involved a little bit more frequently. And I've said it about 1,000 times, but I think the key for England is going to be creating overloads with Walker. Not because Walker's necessarily England's best player per se. He's obviously very, very good. But I think it's just this overload here is where we can get our best combinations of Bellingham, Saka, Walker and Kane. And we did see it. If we go back to the formation we had with Trent, Rice, Foden and Trippier, something that was a little bit frustrating is you have so many players over here on the flank with Bellingham, Saka, Walker, Trent, like this. And they're just passing it around. No one's really making a run in behind. They're controlling the ball here. And there's so many times where Maele, the right wing back, has moved in. Trippier has so much space. But England are like, yeah, no, I'm not going to play this. I'm not going to play the ball into him. Because then if they did, it would just come back. He'd turn around and then obviously you'd push up and then you just recirculate the ball from here. But you never saw Trippier getting the ball and then pushing forward. But you can't really blame him because he's not a left winger. He's a right back and he's playing as a left back, left winger, left wing back kind of hybrid situation. Sorry, I've missed a few comments. Football X, can you repeat the question, please? Sorry, I think I've missed it. I think, yeah, I know you've messaged a few times in the chat, but yeah, I'm trying to keep up with everything. So how do I do tactical analysis of any team? Which part of the pitch do you watch? Okay, so it depends what you're trying to analyze mostly, but I'd say if you're trying to figure out, if you've never watched the team, so I'm going to say I've never really watched Denmark other than I watched a little bit of their highlights from the first match. I watched the first half. The first thing you want to consider is obviously their build-up. We're not seeing too much actual build-up at the Euros. There's a few teams that want to build out from the back, but a lot of teams aren't too committed on the press. So in this situation, I'd say look at a team's build-up. So if we're saying Denmark, for example, they've got a nice wide back three. And to understand their build-up, you need to understand essentially the first line and the second line, and then the rest kind of falls into place. So I'd say if you can understand what a team is doing in this area of the pitch up top, it can give you a lot of ideas of what spaces they're trying to exploit further up the pitch as well. So, for example, they had a back three, and that was really good because England initially pressed with a front two. So it worked really well because you can outnumber them in the first initial phase, and then let me start the timer. So we've kicked off. So it made it difficult for England to effectively press, and then they found a lot of space to attack in behind. So yeah, I'd say the first thing, if you're trying to analyze a team, understand their build-up, and then if you're trying to understand the team's defense, obviously start from their high press. So it's always, you don't want to start from kickoff. Kickoff's not really the best place to go. You're not really going to get a good understanding from a team from kickoff, but from these situations. So England in possession now, try and look at where the defenders are positioned, try and look at where the holding midfielders are positioned. So in this case, you can see England have got double pivot of Trent and Declan Rice, trying to rotate a little bit more to keep the ball. But you'd say, yeah, so England have a double pivot, and is that working for them? I don't know if it is. And then you need to try and understand what they could change. So we are back underway. It doesn't look like England have made any changes, and it doesn't look like Denmark have made any changes. No surprise, Southgate is keeping his changes for later on in the game. So here you go, Trippier being very aggressive, trying to push up and press, but then it just leaves a massive gap at the back. So that was so out of time from Trippier to go and close that player down. And here we go, Denmark in the box. If he lays it off, that's a really good chance. Good deflection. Oh my God, it looks like England are on the back foot immediately. No worries, Football X Cook. Sorry, I know I missed a few messages from you earlier, but I was trying to keep up and then I missed it in the chat. Yeah, Tom, England's press is all over the place. They're just, I think, let's try and keep an eye on that. If you look at England, their press is just they're so far away from the Denmark players. Like, I feel like if they're close to them, the English players, they're good. They're good at pressing. Like Declan Rice, obviously, really good at pressing. But if you look at every time they go and try and close down Denmark's build-up structure, they're just so far away from the players that Denmark have time to drag someone out of position. It just looks a little bit too predictable to me. So again, not Christensen, Denmark in control at the start of the second half. So let's get England all set up after our summary from the first half. Good defending there. Okay, here we go. Counter-attack. Ball into feet to Kane, which is what he likes to do. And then switches it out wide. Walker on the overlap is where we can be dangerous. And these positions here, I think England can create something with nice combinations on the flank. But again, just a little bit too slow at making anything work consistently. So yeah, England's left flank definitely, I know we've said it 1,000 times, but England's left flank is definitely their weak point. Not really able to break through at the start of the second half. I'm curious to see when the first changes are made. I'd like to see 60th minute at least. Again, switches in play from a deep position like this, from like Denmark, are not my favorite. I think they're just a little bit too risky at times. And we'll see if England are able to get a little bit more control at the start of this second half. But again, it does look like Denmark have started on the front foot. So I really hope to see England team play against Germany. Feel like it would make for a great match. I think Nagelsmann, like you said, would cook Southgate. Germany look really good in this competition. Again, another team building with a back three. I know the back three is it's a common structure in club football as well. It's probably the most used build-up structure, but a lot of teams at the Euro seem to be using it. And yeah, Germany doing it really well with Kroos in dropping deep to pick up the ball. I think England would struggle to deal with that. I'm not entirely sure. I haven't done many predictions, so I'm not entirely sure who England would play if they go through the group as first or second. I'm not entirely sure who they play. But here we go. Nice little break. Trent pushing forward. Bit behind Foden there. That's really a shame because a nice little break for England in that situation. But a ball like that just slows everything down. And then from these situations, I just don't think England are that dangerous. I think these structured attacks are just a bit too predictable, a bit too slow at getting in the box. Like right now, if you look, we've only got 2 players essentially attacking the box. Maybe Foden on the back post. Just lots of players on the edge of the box. So I think Trent is in his position that he plays in for Liverpool. So he usually ends up in this position here for Liverpool when they're on the attack. And he's good at like crossing and shooting from this far out. But he's not really going to attack the box too frequently. Maybe if he's out wide, he try and attack the back post. But he ends up stopping his run here. But Declan Rice, he also stops his run here. And then Foden, he's also dropping deep. So he's not always, he's quite little. So he's not really going to go for headers all the time. So maybe he's not always here. So you kind of end up with Kane and Bellingham as the only real 2 players that are maybe consistently attacking across and trying to get into the box consistently. So I don't know. It just seems like it's a little bit too static. Where I think, again, yeah, I think a winger would work well. Nice little play from Denmark there, trying to go through the middle. Eriksen, always so much fun to watch. It was really emotional when I wasn't emotional, but it was really nice to see him score in the first game. Just nice after everything that happened at the last World Cup. It was just, yeah, really, really nice moment for everyone, for him to score, to open the scoring for Denmark. Tess, yeah, this game is tedious, yeah. Difficult. I think Denmark have been much more entertaining than England. It just seems to be the case with England. They're just doesn't seem to gel. A bit too slow. Here we go. Nice ball in behind for Saka. Can he put it down? Very close. Oh, very close. That was really, really nice. So we saw Trent in a bit of a position that he's more comfortable with, like trying to whip these balls from like a deeper position, maybe slightly deeper. Could work. He does this for Liverpool quite frequently. It's quite shifted over to the left there. I've seen a few videos actually from people saying that he might be a pretty good left back. And I think that might be a good shout compared to Trippier. I think why not try Trent on the left in this position over here? Lots of space behind England's midfield before they get set up, and then there's space in front of their midfield. Yeah, Henry, Denmark are pressing really well. But I don't know if that's also down to England just not building very well. So again, England trying to build in this situation. We've got an offside from Denmark. So a chance for England to reset. And we'll see if they try anything new in this second half. But it looks like they're build up. Okay, we've got Conor Gallagher. Okay, I like Gallagher. That's good. I like Gallagher. He's a great player. But I think we don't need another midfielder. This is kind of like a like for like. With Trent coming off for Gallagher. I like him. I don't want to be mean. But I don't know if this is the change that England need right now. Let me know what you think. Do you think Gallagher for Trent is something that's going to make England more aggressive? Just seems a bit defensive. Gallagher's not really a player that's going to give you too many attacking options. Oh, wait, we're in the second half, aren't we? But we'll see how it works. So Jason Gallagher's a workhorse, might work. Yeah, no, understandably. He's a great player, but I just wonder if midfielders was what we need right now. But I'm curious. We'll see. England straight away on the attack. A nice little combination on the flank. But yeah, all of England's chances look like they come from cutbacks or crosses. There's just nothing going through the middle. At most, it's in these half spaces over here. But really difficult for England to actually create something specifically down the middle of the pitch. And again, I don't know. I think Rice and Gallagher is a really good defensive formation. If you're going for the draw, I think that works really well. Gallagher's maybe used as England's press hasn't been really good. So I think maybe Gallagher could be the option to help them win the ball a little bit higher up the pitch, because we've seen him do it for Chelsea. He's really, really good at putting the pressure and winning the ball back early, helping Chelsea be on the front foot during the match. But then it's just in these positions on the edge of the box where he's maybe not as effective, as dangerous as someone else. But I think that could give them maybe a little bit more control in midfield. Nice shot. Oh, off the post. Again, more chances from outside the box. Love to see it. Foden coming in from the right flank. So if we switch positions here, it looks like Bellingham might be a little bit more on that position, a little bit more out wide on the left. So I don't know. I would have preferred Mino over Gallagher in this situation. Yeah, Mino maybe a little bit more aggressive, maybe a little bit more offensive minded. Could work. Okay, so we have Wind coming off for Damsgaard, who is number 14. Damsgaard. Didn't he score against England the last time we played Denmark? And then number 18, I missed who he came on for actually. So I'm not entirely sure who number 18 came on for Denmark. If you guys could let me know, I missed that. So Leon Gallagher is very good box-to-box midfielder, both going forward and out of possession. Either he or Mainu could probably be the one alongside Rice instead of Trent. So I think, yeah. So maybe you guys are right. Rice and Rice and Gallagher is a good midfield pivot. I think it can give England a lot of control. Gallagher's maybe a little bit more aggressive. So you have someone a bit more active in this position and Rice a little bit more active in this position that can give you a little bit more control in the center. But I think, yeah, it's just a personal opinion of mine. I want to see a bit more attacking, a bit more going forward, essentially. Okay, so number 18 for Christensen, you guys are saying? Oh, I've got two number 18s. Oh, 18 is Bar. Yeah, so Bar plays for Benfica. So maybe the combination of Bar and Højlund could work quite well, just because they play in the same city. Completely different teams, but you know. I don't know if that's any FIFA chemistry if you play in the same city. I doubt it is. Okay, England playing through Saka on the right flank. Saka, really nice dribbling here. Can he cut inside? Okay, good effort there. So I need to set up again. So is it Maele that came off or Christensen that came off? Actually, let me just check. So we'll see England actually press high up the pitch now. But again, the press isn't too aggressive. If you look, they've got two holding midfielders, Denmark, and one of them is always free. Unless Saka moves inside, but then the fullback is free. So I just don't think this pressing shape works too well. And I think it's just a bit too passive. And Denmark can easily find a way through. A little bit, rushed it a little bit there. I think they had a little bit more time. But a nice idea to play it down the centre. So yeah, Christensen off for Bar. Mail is number 5. Here we go, another cutback. The only way England are creating their chances is cutbacks and crosses. Okay, thank you. All right, we've got it set up. I need to find a way to keep track of the changes. It's difficult to keep up with the substitutions sometimes. So Gabriel, tactical trends of the Euros so far. So back three build up, which I think we've seen in club football as well. It's by far the most common. Long range shots from outside the box look to be. I'm not sure again if it's like something particular, like a specific thing that coaches are looking for, but it is something that is very present in this Euros. Coincidence or not, I'm not entirely sure. And then I'm trying to work out if there's other things. I think I really like the way different teams are using their fullbacks. So Spain are using their fullbacks quite deep and using a lot more of their box-to-box midfielders. England, we've seen obviously they're trying to use Trippier as a more of a winger, but it's not really working too much. We're seeing a lot more of these overloads as well. So England are trying to do it a bit more on the right with Saka, Trent, Bellingham in the first half. Turkey did it really, really well against Georgia. Germany as well, getting a lot of like overloads with Wirtz and Havertz and Musiala moving over. I think, yeah, these clusters of players on certain positions of the pitch could be another like tactical trend that we're seeing. So yeah, I'm going to be doing a video on that. I just want to watch a few more games, maybe let the group stages play out and see what tactics are really working, what tactics all the teams are going for. But yeah, I'd say essentially it's back three, overloads, and long-range efforts are the three things that I've noticed so far. What do you guys think, if you've noticed anything? Do I expect the back three of Italy tonight? So I haven't seen their game against Albania, so I don't know how they played against them. So I'm not entirely sure, actually. I couldn't say. I know Spain play with like a back two, back four, if you consider the fullbacks. I think Italy's press could be quite good if they play with Scamacca up top. He's quite good. I mean, he plays for Atalanta, so obviously he knows how to press. He knows how to close down a player. So I think that could work quite well. So again, it looks like England are trying to put a little bit more pressure on Denmark's press. Maybe Kane and Saka a little bit further up the pitch. Or maybe not. I can't really tell what England's press is. They just seem to leave a lot of space. But yeah, Denmark in complete control of this game, I'd say. England have a few chances. They have possession, but they don't really have the attacking threat that they need. We've seen a few balls from Trent from deep trying to play in Saka, or a couple cutbacks. But even the cutbacks, the players seem to be a little bit late at getting to the ball. So I think, yeah, essentially most of the half has been played in a deeper position. Which is where you guys were saying, I think, who was it? Yeah, Jason. That's why Gallagher is in, adding pressure. I think, yeah, so maybe another long-range effort there. Maybe the midfield was where England were losing control. It looks like the vast majority of teams were trying to attack down the flanks. But if you have more control of midfield, obviously you can control the game a little bit better. So I think, yeah, maybe Gallagher for Trent was a good decision. But I'd like to see a little bit more attacking threat. So Damsgaard more central and plays Eriksen with Poulsen. Eriksen is getting a little too passive and old. I think, yeah, he's maybe good for the first like 60 minutes, but a whole 90 minutes for him might be a bit difficult. And Poulsen's really good, so you could get away with like a slightly more dynamic midfield here. Obviously, Eriksen's got great passing range, so from a deeper position, he can be dangerous. So Pickford actually being involved in the build-up. I don't know if that was on purpose, but a little bit outside his box, which is somewhere you don't usually see him. Kane dropping deep, a little bit more space to pick up the ball. But again, I think when Kane drops deep, he makes these runs. You need Foden and you need Saka and you need Trippier in this case to be ready to attack in behind and go on the other flank. So Bellingham trying to do it. Nothing there. No foul given. And good defending. Oh, Guehi's really good. I think he's been a standout player for me in this match. He hasn't really put a foot wrong. Obviously, the goal was... No, the goal wasn't his fault. Yeah, I think he's been really, really good at stopping these balls in behind. We've seen Denmark trying to play like quick balls to beat the defense, and he's been able to stop them. Ball onto the back post, and it just doesn't work, yeah. So, Martin, our defense needs to be a much higher. I agree. I think, again, a bit too passive. I think we're a bit too scared of Denmark's press. You're suggesting Walker in this position with Guehi, so Trippier's already up here. Double pivot in this case. I think, yeah, if you could get away with maybe having these players here. So Walker's obviously comfortable in this position. I trust Stones to be the central player to give balance here. So maybe if you push Guehi a little bit higher up on the left, you could stretch their press a little bit more. And you actually add a little bit support to Foden. Obviously, Bellingham will be in these positions. So it could work. It could work if you stretch out wide a little bit more. I think this back four build-up, and you're just waiting for the opportunity to push this left back forward, is just a little bit too passive. So yeah, I kind of see what you guys are saying. And a corner. That was terrible. Oh my God. Okay. Corners. Denmark have been good from corners. They've been able to win the headers most of the time, but haven't been able to finish the chances. So number 9. So Højlund coming off for number 20, who is Ben White as well, centre back. Okay, for Poulsen. But not the player you guys were suggesting. You thought it'd be Eriksen for Poulsen. Yeah, to be honest, like, another chance there. Pickford. Was that Damsgaard? Yeah, he's got a long-range effort. He can do those. He can hit those. Okay, England really need to find a solution quickly because, I don't know. Again, Pickford's build-up. Oh my God, this build-up is just so slow, so easy to predict. I don't even think Denmark's press is too dangerous. Like, they're obviously pressing really well, but it doesn't look like the most effective. They are leaving, when they're in this position, they're pushing up quite a lot. Obviously, you have Foden, maybe Kane. But they are leaving like the opposite flank a lot. I just think England are not using Pickford enough. If you want to build out from the back, you need to use the goalkeeper because that's essentially the point. You need to create the extra man. And the goalkeeper is, mathematically speaking, always going to be the extra man. So if Pickford's coming over and then he's playing these terrible balls, he's not really helping his teammates. But you need to get him involved and try and stretch their press because they are coming over quite aggressively, Denmark. They are pushing over a lot of players trying to cover. So I think if you can move it quickly to the opposite flank, then with Walker, you have space to push forward. Okay, so we're seeing a change. Foden's coming off. Substitution, 70th minute. Do you think this is the right moment? Okay, we've got Eze and we've got Watkins. And we've got 3 subs. Okay, we've got Watkins for Kane. For Kane? What? I'm confused. Kane, Saka, and Foden are out. And we've got Watkins, Eze, and Bowen. So, Bowen and Eze. Okay, so... Oh, what's that? What does this mean? So, front... I'm trying to work out what we're going to do now. Yeah, no Palmer. I want to see Palmer. Okay, we'll see. This is a very energetic change. I like it though. I like it. It's not working. Screw it. Bring on some young, raw talent. We'll see what we've got. Okay, so Eze moving over to the left flank. We've got Watkins down the middle and Bowen keeping the width on the right. Eze again, half space. Okay, so Trippier is still the solution on the left flank. I just don't like it. Okay, we'll see if this... Maybe it shakes them up a little bit. You brought off 3 key players. You brought off your whole front line. That is a gamble from Southgate. But I like to see it. It's not working. It wasn't working. Screw it. You're not protected. Trent would suit this team now. He kind of would as well, because you've got a lot of quick players that could run in behind. So you need someone that can play those balls. It's quite funny. We'll see if anything changes, but it looks like the idea in possession is the same. So not many positional rotations. It's kind of like for like in a sense. So even now, so if you look at Eze's position, he's got the ball. You just don't have enough options up top. Nice ball. Oh, good save. Good save. Okay, a run in behind. How long have we been waiting for that? A run into the box. Really nice. Perfect timing. See, Kane didn't do that the whole match. Love to see it. Okay, good. Some central danger, finally. Maybe. So I think this could shake things up. I think England can get a little bit more control. So we'll see what their offensive shape could look like. This midfield could work well. Nice cover for Bellingham. I was a little bit skeptical as soon as the change was made, but I think on paper it's actually quite a smart decision. Counter-attack for Denmark is on. We'll see if Gallagher can put some good pressure on. But it looks like that was really well played from Denmark. And they are still pushing forward. Poulsen with a nice little back heel. Back into Eriksen. Tries to cover in, but nothing to do. So again, very passive defensive midfield. Long range effort. Another save from Pickford, but he knocks it back across the box. And it's a foul. How many shots have Denmark had from outside the box? It's been so many. But I think England are letting it happen. Midfield line is just too slow either to push forward, and then once they do push forward, they just leave space in behind, or they're just too far deep. Good stop from Pickford, essentially. Okay, let's see if England can mount any decent attacks. We've seen a couple good plays. Nice little ball in behind for Watkins as soon as he came on. But we'll see if this more energetic front line. And Watkins looking really, really energetic up top. I like this change. And is that a corner for England? It is. Okay, nice. England haven't been too dangerous from corners. Like, at all. I saw Italy have some really nice corner kick routines, which is essentially a short corner. And I saw a lot of, it was trending on, I think it was Twitter or X, or whatever you want to call it, a short corner. But I think Albania were quite silly because they only went out with, one player. So it was always like a 2v1, and then Italy would cross it on the back post. And a lot of people were, raving about it. But I think Albania just defended them quite poorly, more than Italy, being a genius set-piece situation. Yeah, Dogu Watkins has changed the game in the sense he's made England a little bit more dangerous up top. The press he's been putting has been a little bit more aggressive. Rushing Denmark's build up a little bit more. Now that I think of it, Kane really didn't press at all this match, did he? He didn't really do much up top. I don't think he's got the legs for it anymore. I think there's a reason why he took him off. But yeah, Kane's not really... I know he got his goal, but he's not really having the best Euros. Maybe a year away from the Premier League has not helped him. I'm not sure. That's obviously just speculation because he still had an incredible season, but different rhythm. So the game's opened up quite a lot in the sense that both teams aren't really creating too many structured attacks. Like Denmark oh my God, England's build-up is so nerve-wracking. It just, yeah, and then Pickford just kicks it long. Oh, very nice. But it's a foul. Don't see why that's a foul. But yeah, both teams like opening up a little bit. So Denmark sitting back, trying to counter, and then England being able to get a little bit more control in these last 5-10 minutes. But again, not really creating too much danger, other than a nice little run from Watkins to put them to give them a good chance. Again, just I'm not entirely sure where England's chances are going to come from, because once he's done this run a couple times, I think Denmark will just know that they need to tighten up a little bit more. And you end up with like a similar situation. Haven't seen Eze on the ball much since he's come on. So many long-range efforts from Denmark. So Alban, you want to see Lewis Hall on the left flank? I think he's really good. I liked him when he was at Chelsea. I know he didn't play much, but I just loved the energy with which he came on. I think Chelsea have a similar player now with like Gilchrist, who's like super energetic, super like keen to get forward. Still maybe a bit raw in a few situations. But I like Lewis Hall. He looked quite composed on the ball. I'm not entirely sure how much he played for Newcastle this season, but he is a left back, and I think in certain situations he could be good. Obviously, England's starter in this position is going to be Luke Shaw, but if he's not available, I think we need to try something else in the next match, because Trippier's not working. We've just got nothing on the left flank. Absolutely nothing on the left flank. It's all coming from the right. Teams know that, and they just make sure that nothing's going to come through. And if it does come through, then England are quite slow to attack the box. Not really too many players attacking the box. Skyline, 9 attempts from outside the box. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. That's a lot. That is a lot. So yeah, nice, more pressure from England, rushing the press a little bit more. But again, they're pressing with not too many players. So aggressive with like 2-3 players, but Denmark have 5 or 6 players involved in build-up. So as soon as they break those first 2 players, so maybe it's like Watkins and Bellingham are pushing up, but Eze's maybe a little bit more passive, Bowen's a little bit in here. So as soon as Denmark are able to break this line, they have space to push forward. And because England's defense is just way too deep, defensive line needs to push up. These players, they know how to play with a high line. Walker and Stones, they play with the highest line in the league. I think. Maybe it's Arsenal, actually, that have like a higher defensive line. Or Liverpool even, actually. Yeah, surely it's Liverpool. Can Watkins get there? No. I think, yeah, maybe long term, Lewis Hall could be a prospect for England. Obviously, yeah, he still needs a lot of development, but I don't know. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see. England do have such an amazing pool of players that it's a shame that like one injury can like completely dismantle everything. Like this, it just seems like the left back position was an afterthought for Southgate. Obviously, you know Shaw is injury prone. You know you're going to have weaknesses here. I think you knew that before you made the squad selection. So I don't know. I'm blaming the squad selection for this position here. It just seems like there could be a better solution. And if you're playing with him as a winger, I think you need a winger. I think Trippier's not the player. But I think we've said that about 1,000 times now, yeah. Gomez is a left back as well, says Amol. Yeah, could work. Lingardinho. Jay Lings. Haven't seen him in a while. Whoop. England not really being able to maintain possession at all. I think Eze's not really done much since he's come on. I don't know if that's just England not really looking for him or his positioning is just slightly off, but doesn't look like he's had much of an impact at all. Even Bowen, I haven't seen much of Bowen. Maybe as soon as he came on, there was like a few moves on the right. The only one that has really made an impact up top for now is Watkins. So we'll see if England can create something from a throw-in now. Similar to what Denmark did in their first match, the goal that Eriksen scored from a throwing in a similar position. But England obviously looking to keep the ball instead of creating danger. Seems to be a reoccurring theme. Okay, so yeah, lot more runs in behind from the centre. But again, a little bit more predictable. I think, again, they're just doing it with few too many players. In this case, it was Gallagher's actually pushing quite high up the pitch. Bowen trying to squeeze it in from the middle, but deflection. And then we've got Watkins letting it go out for a throw-in. So, yeah, a little bit more direct in the centre. Gallagher pushing a little bit further forward. I think it was Stones or maybe Walker from this position that was trying to play the ball in behind. Eze was maybe a little bit behind, so Eze could maybe do with staying on the defensive line a little bit more frequently. I think, yeah, trying to penetrate through the middle here could be something. Especially maybe you play the ball in. You don't have to necessarily win the first ball, but if it gets knocked down in any way and you've got someone like Gallagher or hopefully someone like Bellingham on the edge of the box that can pick it up from here and maybe like finish from outside the box. So Olsen coming on. Hjulmand and Eriksen both off, changing both pivots. Sorry, not Eriksen. Yeah, changing two midfielders for number 15 and 11. And I'll sort those names out in a second. So I'm curious to see what changes this means for Denmark. Two players I don't necessarily know too much about, so not entirely sure how this changes their attacking shape too much, if they're a little bit more aggressive, or if this is maybe you guys know more, if this is more, oh, Denmark are in. It took it very wide with that touch. He took it very wide there. I don't know why was it Damsgaard? I'm not entirely sure who was on the ball here, but with this, oh no, it was Poulsen. Was it? I can't tell. Really nice play, able to get in behind, but I don't know why with this touch, who was it? It was Bar, wasn't it? Yeah. Yeah, there, I think he had time to get in behind Guehi, but he took it wide, and then Guehi, great recovery. I think Guehi's been my man of the match, for England anyway. Corner, again, Denmark winning all the headers on the corners. I don't know. I think it's got 1-1 written all over it. If anything, Denmark look more dangerous going forward, more likely to score. Again, cutting through the middle, just so exposed. The back line is so exposed. Oh my god, I thought that was in. I genuinely thought that was in. Højbjerg, great shot from the edge of the box. So exposed. I think England are just... The defensive line is too deep. The midfield line is too keen at getting forward. when they still haven't actually built properly. So you still haven't actually like gained control of the pitch, and these players are already trying to push forward. So you still have a lot of Denmark players in this position. Maybe is it Poulsen playing down the middle? You got a lot more players here that as soon as one pass is cut out, you're just leaving so much space on the edge of the box. And I think Denmark are looking for long range efforts, but I think England are allowing them these long range efforts as well. So we have about 5 minutes left, and it's not looking good for England in the sense that I think the best they can get out of this game is a draw. If they win it, it'll be a bit of a miracle, and I think it's safe to say a little bit against the run of play. I think Denmark have been more dangerous overall over the 90 minutes. England started well, but again, I can't really consider too many actual goal-threatening shots from them, considering Denmark have had a lot more. So yeah, trying to go a lot more direct, maybe play on the second balls a lot more frequently. But seriously, you've got a team with Bellingham, Rice, Gallagher in midfield, and you're playing on long balls. I don't know. Switch in play, maybe a bit too long. Yeah, good cover from Trippier to get there. So Bar's been pretty decent when he came on. I think he could have done much better from this counter-attack here. Again, like we were saying, he had a really good position, got inside of Guehi, and then his touch here took him a bit too wide, giving time for Guehi to push in. But I think he had time to cut in and maybe cut across him and draw the penalty or draw the foul. Ahmad, yeah, the game against Slovenia is going to be difficult. Not entirely sure about the goalkeeper, but in general, if you have to win your last game, it's difficult. Obviously, you want to win your opening 2 games. If you win 2 games, you're basically through. I think, yeah, you are essentially through. So a win and a draw, I think England are still safe, especially because the best thirds go through as well. So I think it will be... I think England will make it through, but it's just going through with confidence as well. Obviously, you don't need to win every game. I remember Argentina at the World Cup, or was it even Croatia when they went to the final of the World Cup or Euros, that they're much more... Like, you can lose a game, but you need to show something going forward, and England haven't really shown much. So last time 3 points and a -1 goal difference was enough to go through. Okay, so yeah, we should be okay. But if we get third, we get Germany. Okay, so we definitely don't need third. I'm not entirely sure if you guys have done the calculation. So if England come first, who do they draw? Depending on if the other teams obviously top their group that you'd expect them to, compared to if England comes second. So Davide, yeah, England the worst team of the tournament so far. I agree. The worst big team of the tournament so far. I definitely agree. I think France left weren't the best, but they still won, and I think they'll win pretty comfortably. Well, actually, no, their next game is against Holland. That's a really good game. Holland impressed me, actually. I know they only just won, but their performance was really good, and I think they had a lot of really, really good chances. Cameron's picking up Cole Palmer. Yeah, I'd love to see him. I really, really want to see him play. Gordon as well. I generally don't think Southgate opened the internet for the whole week, because he's done nothing of what anyone suggested. Not that he needs to listen to the media, obviously, but still, like, that's quite... I don't know what that means for him. Pickford's build-up I think it just puts panic in everyone, because it doesn't really look like you know what he's going to do. Like, even in this situation here, it looked like he was going to go long, And then it's like he dummied it to his own teammate. And you put Stones in a lot of pressure because you're passing it to him, but then he has to cut back onto his left foot and he's being pressed. And again, I don't think Denmark's press is too aggressive. Like, it is quite aggressive, but I don't think it's the best press I've ever seen. But if you're going in this position, this player's closed down, he's already closed down, you're faking a long ball, but then you pass it here. What the hell is Stones meant to do? He doesn't have time to let it run past him, because even if you do, then you're just closed and you're just kicking it down line, hoping something happens. But so he's cutting back, trying to find space, and then you're just in a really tricky position. So yeah, maybe now that the game's nearly done, we're in extra time, 4 minutes. Let's get some predictions on what England need to change for next game. So I'll give you mine. I think make way of Trent. Nothing against Trent in particular, but I think we need less midfielders. I'd start a winger on the left, be it Gordon or Eze even, if you want. Not entirely dependent. England have a lot of good wingers. So let's say Gordon on the left wing, Bellingham and Foden. I know Foden's getting a lot of slack for not playing too well this Euros. But I think, again, he's just not having the support. I don't want Trippier to push up anymore. It doesn't work. It's not dangerous. We've tried it twice and the exact same thing happened. So more width out wide, Saka out wide on the right. But if you make a change, give Palmer a chance. Bowen's obviously good. Again, nothing against Bowen, but I just want to see Palmer play. And then I'd honestly, after today's performance, the 20 minutes, I'd love to see Watkins start. Thank you, Tess. Thank you so much for joining. Enjoy the rest of your night. Bellingham as a wing back. Oh, that might be a bit too much. I mean, potentially he could do it all, but I think you need Bellingham in the center. You need Bellingham as the glue between midfield and attack. But again, I think it didn't work for England because you had Bellingham and Foden trying to do the same thing. So it just got a little bit difficult. So we see if England can create anything at the end, but it just looks like Denmark know that they need to defend. And I wonder if 2 points... Oh, here we go. Counter-attack could be on. Very well played. Very nice from Denmark to control possession there. Martin, I just wish England had style. Yeah, I agree with you. It's frustrating to watch because I think we're the country that... Obviously, I don't have too much comparison, but I think we're the country that gets so hyped up going into the Euros. Like, we do it ourselves. We do it every competition. We're like, it's coming home. We're absolutely coming home. We have the best team out there. And then the competition starts and we're just instantly so depressed by watching us play because you can't really tell what the plan is. You can't really tell what Southgate wants to do. So I know, obviously, a lot of Italian people, a lot of my friends are Italy fans. They always go into the Euros basically in the complete opposite mood. They go into the Euros with like, we have a terrible team. Nothing's going to come of this. But then there's like this whole spirit and it's just vibes. And there's a style to Italy that maybe it's not necessarily a tactical advantage, but it's just the way they play. The players want to play together. They try their best. Honestly, I know it seems silly, but yes, they try their best. Italy try their best every time. And it just works for them. That's it. 1-1. It was disappointing, I think is safe to say. England, again, didn't change anything. Southgate didn't try and improve on the performances against Serbia. And I think that was a tough watch, like you guys are saying. Yeah. Again, started strong, really good in the first 15 minutes. But again, really good in the sense that they had control of the ball. But was it really good in the sense that England were dangerous and threatening? I don't really think so. And it was a very similar situation to Serbia. Denmark started on the back foot with a lot of defenders, the wing backs pushing back a lot. And we got a goal from a similar situation from like a cutback into the box. Against Serbia, it was obviously Saka that delivered the ball. In this case, it was Walker that did really, really well. And then it just fell to Kane. But since England scored, it just changes again. And they don't seem to be able to keep it consistent. And I don't know. It's just frustrating to watch England play like this through the Euros because there's so much talent in the team. But I think the tactics are a bit off. And I think Southgate is to blame a little bit for the approach he's trying to adopt. I see what he's trying to do, but it just doesn't work too consistently. I think the changes in the second half, it was nice to see a complete change of the front line. I think that came a little bit too late. But I think there's some work. There are areas that we need to work on for England. But yeah, let me know your thoughts. I've really enjoyed analyzing the game with you guys. I'm going to be doing a quick recap. Thank you, Cameron. I'll see you soon. Leon, are you going to analyze Spain, Italy as well? So I'm not going to do a live analysis, but I'm going to do a tactical analysis tomorrow of the match, hoping it's a really good game. Let me know your score predictions for that one down below. Thank you, Joaquin. Thank you, everyone. So, Sungu, change to a back three for next game and have 4 midfielders. So, yeah. So, I think to recap, what have we learned from England? That it's boring. But also that we need more width. I think we need less midfielders. And I think we need changes to come earlier in the game. And I think that's about it. And maybe a new manager? No, I don't want to get on Southgate's case too far because, again, in all competitions, we've always kind of make it to the end. But I don't know. I don't know what to say anymore. But yeah, thank you so much, everyone, for joining. That was really, really fun. Unfortunately, the game it was very English in its performance in the sense that it started well and then just kind of fizzled out. Denmark played really, really well. I enjoyed watching them. I think they were dangerous going forward. And I think those shots from outside the box were really, really dangerous for England to stop and fun to watch. And I'm curious to see if that's something that they're actually trying to do consistently during the Euros, if it was just the way England played that allowed them to have so much space on the edge of the box. So yeah, thank you so much. If you enjoyed the stream, please leave a like. And if you haven't, subscribe to the channel as well. We're going to be doing a lot of these live tactical analysis through the Euros, especially for the quarterfinals, semi-finals, and the final as well. And then we're going to do match reviews of the big matches as well on the channel. So I've been using the Football Meta software in today's. I know a few people asked me in the videos and in the live streams. The software is some software that I've been working on. Obviously, it's not available yet. Need to fix some bugs. Need to work out how to make substitutions more fluid as well. But yeah, hopefully I can let you guys try it sooner rather than later. But yeah, thank you all so much for joining and take care. I'll see you guys soon.